Hey there. I kind of new. I'm used to doing long form podcast type content, or as we've been doing recently on the show, clipping stuff out. But I've seen Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, uh, and I wanted to do a little non spoiler review just myself. Oh, pardon me. Uh, just because we're trying new things around here, you know. So this is going to be a new experience for everybody. I have some notes written up in front of me, so when you see me looking up and down, that's what's going on there. So yeah, I saw it last night. I saw it with a packed theater, so I got to have the full Marvel cinema experience. You know, so that was a lot of fun, and I really enjoyed Multiverse of Madness. As you guys know, any loyal listeners are aware of, and watchers are aware of, my big fright with the advent of doing multiversal storytelling has been for some time that the nature of the multiverse opens up a lot of nostalgia bait, and that we would become victim to kind of like a member berry circle jerk, as I've been calling it, and that everything is going to be, oh, look, there's, uh, okay, I'm going to say this. It's going to be non spoiler, but things that are in trailers are fair game. So we hear Patrick Stewart's Professor Xavier in the trailer. So, oh, look, remember Charles Xavier? Member, again, also in a TV spot recently, Captain Carter. Member? Do you remember? Do you remember Tobey Maguire Spider Man? There's a lot of that. A lot of that has been my fear. You know, Spider Man's not in the movie. Using that as an example for No Way Home, but that's been my big worry. It was my worry for No Way Home. It's my worry for. It was my worry going into Doctor Strange, and it's still kind of my worry for Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania for now. And I am very happy to report that is so very not the case with Multiverse of Madness. And I think a lot of people have assumed that Multiverse of Madness is going to involve an incredible amount of dimension hopping that will result in us meeting this group of people and this group of people and this group of people and this group of people. And then it's just going to be this endless smattering of cameos of past, present, and what if, with what if style casting. And I'm very glad that's not the case. Quite frankly, the Illuminati that we do, again, that's said in the trailer. The Illuminati is important to the story, but their time on screen is not spent in an overindulgent way. I'm not going to say who all is a member. But I cheered. I that was a moment for me where, like, I don't whoa in the theater very often. I woo, like there's an excitement there, and there's some clapping and there's some cheering. But I do not shout in excitement. Um, I shouted in excitement for that. Um, I think it was very well handled and executed, with how with the precarious situation that is trying to do a multiverse story, when nostalgia is the biggest commodity available to you in film currently. And the Marvel and Sam Raimi, and I believe Michael Waldron is the name of the writer, did not overindulge themselves as filmmakers, did not try to overindulge the audience, which I think was good. Now was not things I had notes for, but in my notes, I do want to talk. The cinema. This movie is shot and lit, and the color. It's so beautiful. And again, I've been a proponent of, the way that I understand the critiques that a lot of people have of mainline MCU movies, notably mostly the ones that the Russos have made, Civil War and Infinity War and Endgame. Less Infinity War, mostly Endgame and Civil War catch the brunt of this, um, for the way that they are talked about, how they're not very interesting in color. They're kind of gray. They're kind of flat. It's just people standing in lines in an airport. That's the joke you always see for Civil War. And I get that critique. I don't particularly agree with it. Or let me rephrase that. I agree with it. It doesn't bother me that much. I enjoy these stories. I enjoy these characters, and seeing them brought to life brings me a lot of joy. So normally I don't really, if it's not great, it doesn't bug me. But when it's really good, I get excited for it. And this was an instance where there was purpose and intention behind every shot. Again, it was just so vibrant, which is necessary for a movie like this. And by the time we end up, again, not too spoilery, by the time we end up seeing the Illuminati, once the colors are kind of cool again, you get that very cold feeling you're supposed to get when you're around a group of people who are making big decisions the way the Illuminati does. Um, so yeah, there's also another shot. Um, we see it in the trailer where Wanda is surrounded by candles and she's like meditating with her magic. Uh, that shot in the movie is way cooler because there's kind of like a really cool effect where it's Wanda kind of in the middle, because Wanda and Doctor Strange and America Chavez are in different locations in this scene. But you have Wanda in the middle of the shot, and then you have like Strange and America fade into either side of her. There is some. This movie is gorgeous. It is beautiful. There's so much going on there. Um, these are one of those movies that even if you're not invested in the plot, there's eye candy, and I think that this is evidence that while again I don't think MCU bad because of those very valid criticisms over how these movies are shot and lit in the color palette. I don't think it's necessarily bad, but this movie is evidence that you don't have to spare uh, those more artistic elements behind the camera to just make a cool superhero beat 'em up. You can do both, and I hope the MCU moving forward improves on its visual language. Um, there's also just some things that the movie decides for you that you just kind of have to agree to its terms. Like they come up with there's a very interesting decision they make with how dreams work in this movie that you just have to go with it. They make that decision for you. Now you have to come to them. You buy it or you don't, and it'll kind of affect how you watch the rest of the movie. For me, it was jarring when they first kind of make the declaration about dreams and stuff. And I'm not gonna get into spoiler territory and over explain that statement. But once they declare that and go, this is how dreams work, you just kind of go, okay, let's go. Um, I also like that there isn't a whole lot of hand holding with the story up to this point. If you have not seen WandaVision, Loki, and Spider-Man No Way Home, I don't think this movie will be impossible to understand. But you know, Loki and Sylvie killed He Who Remains. Well, in Loki, Sylvie did that. Loki tried to stop her, um, which meant that the walls of the multiverse were no longer very concrete, and now it was anybody's game. Spider-Man: No Way Home. That Strange's spell gets botched and creates an environment wherein you could have a fiasco like this happen, and now it's happening. Um, and you need to understand Wanda as a character and the beautiful character study that is WandaVision going into this movie. Um, I also love that this movie also calls attention to one of Doctor Strange's darker character elements. He, at his core, has a cold pragmatism to him. He is very get me from point A to point B to point C, and I can get the thing done in the first movie. And then in Infinity War, he says to Tony and Peter, I will let either of you die if it means keeping the time stone away from Thanos. He peers into the future, which are some really interesting implications as to what he could have been seeing, thanks to this movie, about what the potential end of the Infinity War looks like. My lightsaber stand batteries died. Okay. Anyway, there's some very interesting implications there. And then in Endgame, he very happily sacrifices Tony, and then he says in Spider-Man No Way Home that line that I think he says exactly the same thing to Peter. I think he repeats that line verbatim in this movie. He does, but it's pretty much repeated verbatim about how, to maintain the sanctity of the timeline, this individual has to die, or these individuals, when he was talking about Peter Parker's villains, from the Webb and Raimi verses, respectively. So there's an indictment about that. The Strange is kind of held to the fire for being as cold as he's been in these movies. And it's shown to not be a willingness for a heroic sacrifice, but to be in many ways a character flaw that he has, which I find is very, very, very interesting. The relationship between Wong and Strange in this movie is a highlight for me as well. We see them develop. We see that in Doctor Strange 1, the original recipe, that they have I don't want to say standoffish, but the whole "bring it on, Beyonce" type thing between them. They aren't great friends. By the end of Strange, come Infinity War, they're talking. They seem friendly, but by the time we get to No Way Home and the way they've interacted up to that point, and the role that Wong has been playing in the MCU, with his appearance in Shang-Chi as well, it feels like Wong we see that he is the Sorcerer Supreme currently. Wong is Sorcerer Supreme, not Doctor Strange. And it's because Wong did not get blipped away. But also, Strange isn't ready. I don't think Strange is ready. And Wong, he envies Wong. And there's a little bit of, I think I'm better than you, and I think it's horse shit that I'm your subordinate. And it colors a lot of their relationship, and seeing how that develops throughout this film was also really cool, because I like Wong a lot. I like Benedict Wong in the role, and it was just nice to see them develop their friendship further than what we've had up to this point. I'm going to refer to her by her last name because I am not going to disrespect her by butchering it. Gomez, the young lady who plays America Chavez, she's great. I think she's an excellent pick for America, and I think that the potential she has moving forward, being a younger actor, being somebody who is a very important character in the grand scheme of things, I think they made an excellent choice in casting her, and we have all the time in the world to see her grow and develop, and we get a lot of growth and development from her in this movie. I will critique the film and say that at times America does feel like a human plot device. It does feel like most of her involvement in the movie is the Death Star plans, is the Ark of the Covenant, is the Tesseract, Infinity Stones, what have you. And that's kind of her, that there's kind of a function to her there that is a little disappointing, where she is she's an obtainable objective, unfortunately, a little bit there. But there's a lot of characterization that undoes some of the elements there that make her more of a collectible in a certain sense. I think this movie and the time that we have spent with Doctor Strange as a character has helped Benedict Cumberbatch really craft the role. He feels way more complex in this movie than he has felt since Infinity War. or the Doctor Strange rather. So there's been a lot of development there, and again, you can see that the weight of everything he's had to do and work through and fight is on him, and he's questioning how much of this life, and then not like a Spider-Man 2 where like Peter hangs up the suit kind of way, but you can see that Stephen may not be thrilled with everything he has to do on a day-to-day basis. Let me find my place in my notes. Yes, okay. The action here is really good as well, and there are some scenes that is lots of lasers and fist fights to some extent, but that is not to undermine the way that the magic is used in a combative way. The way I have it written in my notes is that it avoids the the sparkly kung fu of Doctor Strange 1, but it does not turn into colorful bullets like Harry Potter, where we're just shooting energy beams at each other endlessly. There's some of that. Shabooh, like you just shoot a laser out of your hands. There's more complex like use of magic and spells and things like that being used throughout the movie that I think really sets Strange apart from like Iron Man or Captain Marvel. How many other characters in the MCU fly and go out of their hands? This goes a long way to differentiating Strange and his style. Wanda as well, which is a nice dovetail. Elizabeth Olsen steals the goddamn show. And I was so impressed with her performance. And I have seen the criticism that this is a rolling back of her development in WandaVision. And I must respectfully disagree completely with those individuals. On one hand, I see where that criticism comes from. I disagree with it entirely. But I can see where it's coming from, and I can't refute it and explain my position without spoiling a lot of this movie. So I will not here. We will save that for when the spoiler review comes out. More about that in a minute. But I will say Wanda's appearance in this movie, I think, is completely in line with her character up to this point. I think WandaVision made her so incredibly complex with the nature of her powers and her not fully understanding the scope of them, not fully understanding how powerful she truly is, and the ramifications that come with not understanding your full potential with that level of power that she has. And they move her in a very interesting direction here, and one that I think a lot of people have been wanting to see. And I look forward to hearing more and more of the conversation around Wanda's characterization here. So much so that I very much would love to see, like once Multiverse of Madness is out on home release or is on Disney Plus, I would very much enjoy like doing a WandaVision marathon and then watching Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. I think it would be a very fun experience to go from one straight into the other. Or hell, maybe even do WandaVision, Spider-Man, Multiverse of Madness. But yeah, this is so good. And I quite liked it a lot. I'm not going to give a full letter grade because, quite frankly, I feel like I need to see it again. But I implore anybody who is comfortable going to a movie theater and is up to date on the MCU, go ahead and go give this movie a watch. Go do yourself a favor. I think it is incredible. And yeah, with regards to a full spoiler review, we will be live at Monday, 5:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, where myself, the lovely folks from multiple fandom or multiple fan base. I was going to say fandom, multi fan base, and Comic Book Cast will be joining me to go live and talk about Multiverse of Madness. Spoilers galore, so be warned if you want to tune in for that. we will be live, and there will be a chat going so we can get your questions on that matter as well. So be sure to come out for that. We will be very excited. I hope to see you all there. So yeah, be sure to like, comment, share, subscribe, do all the things, and class dismissed.
Stop! Move away from the cookie jar!